Good morning. Don't you look swell today? Actually, swollen.
Oh.
So have some. There's a fresh pot on the table. Seriously, you look like hell. Your hair is sticking straight up like a... Oh, it always does that. Never mind. Did you dream about the fire and the hang guy and that lion thing last night?
Leopard, not lion. Did you get anything on Malia Gedde?
Well, I did get her address, but you're a little out of your league here, big fella. The Geddys own 3 local hospitals, just to name a few of their assets. They run in very high circle.
Did you get an address?
I got the address. I suppose this has nothing to do with the fact that Malia Gedde is incredibly gorgeous. I should have known you wouldn't go for a rich, ugly socialite.
And that address is...
Hey! Far be it from me to postpone your total humiliation. It's 557 West England. That's the Garden District, Estate City.
That's all I wanted to know. And yes, my dear, Malia Gedde is the most dangerous-looking diversion I've ever seen. Ouch!
Oy, men.
There is no... Gabriel opens the cash register to examine the take, or in the case of St. George's books, the mistake.
I trust you can live without this old gift certificate.
Knock yourself out.
I'll take this hair gel. You never know when you'll need a touch-up. I might need a flashlight.
Times Picayune, dated June 19, 1993. A front-page article describes the most recent of the Voodoo murders. Gabriel scans it but learns nothing new. The article reiterates that the voodoo aspect of the crimes is fake. Gabriel shivers. It looked real enough to him. Elsewhere, there's an article about the history of Jackson Square, called La Plaza d'Armas. Under French rule, it was used for executions, firing squads, hanging, even impalement and breaking on the wheel. Yikes! Of course, these days it's mostly a hangout for tourists, street musicians and local artists. Gabriel also scans the Aquarius horoscope for the day. Chances of a dark star rising on this day. Do not trust your instincts.
I feel a dark star rising, all right. I'll be back later.
See ya.
Hello?
Bonjour, Monsieur Walker.
Oh, bienvenue, Madame Casino. Comment ça va? How you be feeling today?
Well, I'll tell you, Mr. Walker, I'm certain someone's buried a sleep note bag somewhere near my steps. I haven't slept a wink in weeks.
Oh, don't that beat all? Well, you're gonna need some easy night candles then.
Do you think that would help? I do hope you're right. I said 3 rosaries this morning for Our Lady's intervention.
Rosaries are good, sure enough. But you burn those candles too, and you're gonna whip any old no-sleep gree-gree, I tell you for sure.
Very well, Mr. Walker. put them on my account and send them round to my house. Oh, and there's another thing. I didn't catch her at it, but I know Mrs. Lefebvre put stomachache powder in my tea at the last meeting of the Creole Grand Dames. Oh, I've been in misery.
You put 9 pinheads up in a little box, add a pinch of graveyard dust, and put it under her front porch step. That'll turn the trick back on Mrs. Lefebvre, and she'll be the one with the bellyache. I have the pins and the dust right here if you want 'em.
If the Blessed Virgin will grant me her protection, I'll be safe from these practitioners of evil.
Oui, madame. Though it don't hurt to be proactive none neither, now does it?
Naturellement, monsieur. Merci beaucoup.
Mais non, madame. It is nothing. Au revoir.
Au revoir, Monsieur Walker.
The signs say, Special Saint Jean Eve, Lagnappe, free bottle of lover come back to me oil, or master gambling oil, with every purchase over $50.
Lagniappe. My French is lousy, but everyone in New Orleans knows what that means. A little something extra. Can I ask you just a few more questions?
Whatever, man.
What's the significance of St. John's Eve?
It's the biggest night of the year in Voodoo.
What goes on exactly?
I couldn't say.
What's the...
I've...
That customer of yours, the little old lady?
Customer?
The woman I saw in here. Madame Cazonou, you called her.
I don't talk about my customers to men who come in off the street.
Got a second, officer?
What can I do you for?
What can you tell me about St. John's Eve?
Bunch of crazies out there on St. John's Eve, that's what. We're busy all night.
Really? What kind of crazies?
Your usual howl at the mooners, I guess. They don't look no weirder than them that comes in during Mardi Gras. Never can tell, though.
I'm here to see Detective Mosley.
He's in his office. Go on back.
Hey, hey, hey.
Yeah, what is it, you wanker? Whew, it's hot in here. Dang, the air conditioning must be on the blink. Are you hot? Man, I'm hot.
Can I ask you about some stuff?
You're the writer. Ask away.
What's the status on the Voodoo murders case?
It's going. Can't seem to make any progress, though. Sluggish damn case. It's weird.
How about getting me some coffee?
Coffee? You want coffee?
Should that surprise you?
Nah, you've always been a caffeine addict. It's just that what we got here hardly qualifies.
So I'm desperate.
It's your stomach. I'll get you some when we're done talking.
That long?
All right, I'll go now. Don't touch anything while I'm gone.
I think I'll just borrow this badge.
Hey, what are you doing with my coat?
Nothing. I thought I saw something crawling on it.
Just drink this.
Thanks. Tons. I mean it.
The knocker.
May I help you? I'd like to see Malia Gedde, please. I'm sorry, but unless you have an appointment or official business, I cannot announce you. I do have official business. Really? Please tell me the nature of your business. My name is Detective Mosley. I'm here on police business. Really? How interesting. Wait here. I'll inform Miss Gedde. Miss Gedde will see you. Right this way. Miss Gedde will be down shortly. Thank you.
What can I do for you, Detective?
Mind if I ask you a few questions, Miss Gedde?
I assume that's what you're here for, Detective.
What can you tell me about voodoo?
Voodoo? Why would you want to know about that, Detective? It's rather silly, isn't it?
There's nothing silly about the voodoo murders.
But that voodoo is faked. That's what I've read in the paper.
That's what the papers say, all right.
But you're not convinced?
No, frankly, I'm not. The police department isn't known for its imagination.
Oh. Well, I can see that your imagination is considerable.
What do you know about the voodoo murders?
The murders? Only what I read in the papers.
And what do you read in the papers?
I'm sure you know much more about it than I, Detective.
Tell me about your life in New Orleans.
The Gedde family came to New Orleans in 1800. We worked very hard to get where we are. On the other hand, we've done a lot for this community.
I can believe that. You're doing a lot for me right now. Do you know anything about snakes?
I'm afraid I quite abhor them.
What can you tell me about St. John's Eve?
I believe it's some sort of local holiday, but I don't know much about it.
Do you have any idea what Caprice Saint means?
No, I don't. What does it mean, Detective?
That's confidential information, ma'am. Can you tell me anything about what happened out at the lake?
I wish I could, but I've never seen or heard anything unusual at the lake, and I do spend quite a bit of time out there.
Excuse me, but your eyes are really distracting. I don't think I've ever seen a color quite like that. Brownish gold. It's so deep and rich. Man, if I could bottle that, I'd make a fortune.
Thank you, Detective. That's an interesting observation, though probably not relevant to your case.
A good detective never knows what might be relevant, Miss Gedde.
Then you must be truly exceptional at your job. I think this has gone on long enough. You're not really a detective, are you?
Who, me? Well, I am on this case, Miss Gedde.
I saw you at the lake yesterday. I thought you must be with the police since you were there, but you don't act like a police officer. Besides, I'm rather certain that the other man said his name was Mosley.
All right, you caught me. I'm not with the police. My name is Gabriel Knight. I'm a writer working with Detective Mosley on a book.
Well, Mr. Knight, now that we've established who you are, perhaps you can tell me the real reason you're here.
Well, I am researching the book, and I thought you might have seen or heard something at the lake.
I don't like liars, Mr. Knight.
Okay, you're right. I really just wanted to see you again. You can be mad at me if you want, but I swear I've never done anything like this before.
Mr. Knight, you've lied about your identity and wasted my time with meaningless questions. If it weren't vaguely flattering, I'd really be angry. You're lucky I don't call the real police. I think you should go, Mr. Knight.
Malia, wait. If you just give me a chance.
I've wasted enough time. I'll have Robert show you out. Robert? Show Mr. Knight out, please.
I most certainly will. Thank you very much. I had a lovely time.
Ah, shit. Could I ask you some questions?
I'd rather not. I really get focused when I'm drawing.
Okay, fine.
People seem to be enjoying, and artists is taking advantage of the fine weather.
Nice drawing of the cathedral.
Thanks.
It's really precise.
Well, I'm an architectural student, actually. It's good practice.
The lucky dog vendor has his nose buried in a paperback novel. Gabriel noticed that it is not, big surprise, one of his.
Could I get a lucky dog, please?
Not now, I'm busy.
An unambitious person? In the 90s? Ah, amazing.
Do you mind if I ask you a few questions?
Yep, I mind all right.
Why?
Because A, I don't know anything, and B, I'm busy.
Oh. I have this gift certificate.
I'm busy.
It's good for $20 at St. George's Books, finest bookstore in New Orleans.
Really? I'll have to check it out sometime.
You could take this gift certificate with you, if you'll give me a lucky dog.
A lucky dog for a $20 gift certificate? Well, sure. Here you go.
Hey, come back here. Hey! Oh, unbelievable. Rotten luck!
Interrogating the little boy wouldn't be very useful.
You dance pretty well for a kid.
Give me some money, then.
I don't have any.
Don't block the view, mister.
You wouldn't like a lucky dog by any chance.
Would I? Thanks, mister. You got any special requests, let me know.
You mentioned something about special requests.
Yeah, you got one?
Can you fit through the bars around the statue?
Can I? Just watch me.
Good. There's something in there I can't quite reach. Come on. Can you reach that piece of paper?
Sure thing. Here you go. Yep. See ya.
This is the last page of inventory. It's a technical drawing of St. Louis Cathedral.
This belongs to you, doesn't it?
My drawing. How'd you get it?
Oh, it was a bit of a squeeze, but I hate to see you lose your work. I lost my only copy of a manuscript once.
Well, you saved my butt. Let me know if I can ever do the same for you, huh?
Say, do you think there's anything you can do with these patterns?
What do you need?
Is there any way you can reconstruct the whole pattern from these partials?
Pattern is probably circular, and there's some repetition in the elements. What is this from, anyway?
You'd never believe me.
Okie dokie. Well, there's... I think there's an area missing. If you could get me any more of these...
I'll see what I can do. I have another one of those patterns.
Really? Let's see. Yeah, this is great. I think there's enough overlap now. I'll give it my best shot. I'll show you what I come up with tomorrow.
Great. I appreciate it.
The marks are reddish in color and reminds Gabriel of crosses. They look like they've been here a few days at least.
I want a copy of these strange marks.
This is the last. It's a piece of brick.
Could I have a minute of your time?
Yeah? What can I do for you?
Mind if I pick your brain a minute?
Go ahead. These folks ain't in no hurry.
What can you tell me about voodoo?
They say it was part of an old religion from Africa, brought here by slaves.
What do you know about the voodoo murders?
Ain't it just awful, them finding those bodies with voodoo things around them? I don't think there's any real voodoo going on. Somebody's trying to cover their tracks is all.
What can you tell me about New Orleans?
Seems like everybody want to visit New Orleans at least once in their lives. And they love the cemetery tour. I see tourists in here every day of the year.
Do you know anything about snakes?
Snakes? I see snakes around here all the time. Most of them ain't poisonous, of course.
What's the significance of St. John's Eve?
Why, St. John the Baptist is the patron saint of voodoo. Sometimes we get some weird goings-on in that cemetery on that night. More often a few nights before. People taking grave dirt, bones, and more.
That's pretty disgusting.
Yep. Don't know what they do with them, but it can't be pretty.
Do you have any idea what Gabriel St means?
No, can't say that I do.
Tell me something about St. Louis Cemetery, number 1.
You know why the dead are buried in tombs and not in the ground, don't you? The water table's too high. Them coffins would float right out of their graves. Them dead would go floating right down into the water. Of course, if it were Mardi Gras, nobody'd even notice.
Have you ever heard the word Schottenjäger?
I don't know what you talking about.
Tell me about yourself.
My name is Toussaint Gervais. I'm the watchman here at St. Louis number 1.
What exactly do you do here?
Oh, I keep the place tidy, course, but a big part of my job, too, is looking out for the grievers, you know. People come to pay their respects, and they need looking out for. Sometimes they so grief-bound they don't know what they doing.
What can you tell me?
I don't really care to talk about it. I don't do it none myself.
Tell me something about...
It's a historical place. People buried in here from the Civil War, and back further, too. Take a look around, you'll see.
Tell me something...
Just look around, You get the feel of the place.
Welcome, my friend.
Hello?
I am the proprietor, Dr. John. If you have any questions, I will be happy to assist.
Great. My name is Knight, and I'll probably take you up on that.
It's the exit to Ursula Street. It's an electrical switch. A leather whip hung from the peg on the wall. An authentic-looking pole marks the center of the room. Authentic what? Gabriel isn't sure. The back wall displays various voodoo items, such as a gaudy shell necklace.
Could I ask you some questions?
That is why I am here.
What can you tell me about voodoo?
Historical voodoo? Or the voodoo currently practiced in the city?
What do you know about the voodoo murders?
The killings in the newspaper? I know that they have nothing to do with true voodoo in New Orleans.
What do you think of New Orleans?
It is the only city in the United States as far as I am concerned.
Do you know anything about snakes?
Ah, you have perhaps noticed the museum's snake, Mr. Knight. They are beautiful creatures, do you not agree? And the tourists seem to associate them with voodoo.
What can you tell me about St. John's Eve?
It is one of the important ceremonial nights in voodoo.
What else?
I am afraid I do not know the origins of St. John's Eve. I only know that it was a night of ritual long before voodoo came to New Orleans.
Do you have any idea what Cabri Saint-Gar means?
I fear my French is not all it should be, Mr. Knight.
Have you ever heard of a Schottenjäger?
No, I have not.
Tell me about historical voodoo.
Very well. I will start at the beginning, Mr. Knight, and will go on from there at your prompting.
Sounds good.
As you may know, voodoo is a grassroots religion formed by the mixing together of many different African tribal religions and Anglo religions, such as Catholicism or Protestantism. In other words, it is a religion born of the African slave trade, but African slaves were imported not only by the United States, but also into the West Indies, where the French and Spanish ran plantation islands. Prior to 1803, the New Orleans area was owned by France. The French Creole in those days owned many African slaves, but the Creole did not permit their slaves to gather, giving no chance for voodoo to breed here natively. The Creole also knew enough about the corrupted pagan practices of the West Indies slaves to ban the importing of slaves from that region.
So, how did voodoo come to New Orleans?
After the Louisiana Purchase, American legislators relaxed regulations. Slaves were permitted to gather. The Americans also removed the ban on West Indies slaves. Around the same time, a slave revolt occurred in Santo Domingo, what is now Haiti. Between the lifting of the ban and the Haitian revolt, West Indies slaves began pouring into New Orleans. Some of them were free people of color, freed or escaped slaves. Some came with their white owners who were fleeing from the revolt.
What happened when the West Indies slaves got here?
They brought voodoo with them. The native slaves were more than enthusiastic about embracing it. It gave them power, Mr. Knight, if only in the form of a communal bond. Among the first meeting places were the Bayou St. John and the shore of Lake Pontchartrain. The early voodoos were heavy snake worshippers, worshipping the one they called the Great Zombie.
Tell me more about historical voodoo.
By 1817, the voodoo activities were beginning to cause fear among the white slave owners. An ordinance was passed to forbid slave gatherings except in designated public areas at designated times. The time was Sunday afternoons and the place, Congo Square. The slaves and free people of color gathered to dance simulations of their voodoo dances right in sight of Creole society. Of course, they also continued to meet in private for the real thing.
Tell me more about historical voodoo.
There were a variety of kings and queens at first, voodoo priests and priestesses. But from about 1830, a single power emerged. This was a voodoo queen named Marie Laveau. Marie Laveau ruled voodoo in New Orleans for many years.
Tell me more about historical voodoo.
I've given you as much detail as I can, Mr. Knight. Look around the museum if you desire more information.
Tell me about current voodoo.
Many people think of voodoo in terms of magic spells or gree-gree. That kind of practice is actually called hoodoo and is only a part of true voodoo. Voodoo, the religion, has a strong following in New Orleans. In fact, it is growing quite rapidly. There are several voodoo churches or temples in the city, and others all across the United States. African Americans see it as a tradition all their own. Whites, and there are many in their religion, are attracted to it because they think it is exotic. I, personally, am more interested in the history of voodoo. Some of the new movements are copying Haitian or even African voodoo. But it is the voodoo of New Orleans that I find so intriguing.
Tell me more about current voodoo.
There are many voodooians in New Orleans. They often do business selling gree-gree, telling fortunes, providing luck, and occasionally misfortune. Perhaps you would like to meet a voodooan. We refer those who seek a deeper experience with voodoo to a local practitioner, Magentia Moonbeam.
Sure, I'd love to meet her.
She lives on the corner of Orleans and Dauphine. I will call her and tell her you might stop by.
Great, thanks. Do you know Malia Gedde?
Should I?
She referred me to your museum.
Many have read about our museum in the newspapers, Mr. Knight.
That's a good point. What exactly is hoodoo?
Hoodoo refers to magic folk traditions of the South. Hoodoo is a bastard of voodoo. Many of the gree-gree are similar, but hoodoo does not have the religious aspects of voodoo.
Is there anything else I should know about hoodoo?
Not if your interest is primarily in voodoo. Hoodoo is of interest to those who study rural folk traditions, but it will not aid you in understanding true voodoo.
Is there anything else I should know?
Not if you're...
Tell me more about Marie Laveau.
There were actually two Marie Laveaus, mother and daughter. Most people thought they were the same woman. Her continued youth added to the mystique. When the widow Paris began to practice, there were many voodooans in the city. By 1830, she was voodoo queen of all New Orleans.
Tell me more about Marie Laveau.
The widow Paris was a hairdresser for rich Creole ladies. She also paid household servants to spy for her. Between the two, she knew everything about everyone who mattered in New Orleans. She was not above using her information to appear psychic, to intimidate, or even to blackmail.
You sound as though you admire her.
For a black woman in the mid-1800s to gain power is an incredible thing, Mr. Knight. However she achieved it.
Tell me more about Marie Laveau.
She kept a pet snake, danced with it too. She held traditional voodoo ceremonies out by the lake. She took herself seriously, very seriously. But she was not above selling tickets for her events to curiosity seekers. She was not above using voodoo any way she could to make money. That is for certain. But if she had been in another line of work, in another age, that would have been interpreted as entrepreneurial genius rather than a sign of fraudulent.
Hey, you don't need to convince me. I admire anyone that can actually make a living. Tell me more about Marie Laveau.
It was Marie Laveau who defined the voodoo that is truly and uniquely the voodoo of New Orleans. She invented hundreds, if not thousands of spells, potions, charms, and incantations. These form the basis of the modern practice, not to mention the folk tradition of hoodoo.
Tell me more about Marie Laveau.
Her daughter, Marie Glapion, took over when the widow Paris got old. Most people thought it was the same Marie Laveau. Both Maries encouraged that point of view. The widow Paris died in 1881. Marie Glapion had been reigning a long time after the death of the widow Paris. Other voodoo queens surfaced, and by 1890, the cult was fragmented again. Marie Glapion just sort of faded away.
Tell me more about...
The Laveau tomb, where one or both of the Maries are believed to be buried, is in St. Louis Cemetery No. 1. It is a popular shrine for practitioners and tourists alike. I myself take tours through the cemetery on a regular basis.
Really? Do you have any running this week?
No, but the cemetery is open to the general public as well.
Tell me...
You have heard everything about Marie Laveau that a layman might expect to understand.
Thanks a lot. Bye now.
Walk carefully out there, Mr. Knight.
Welcome, Seeker. You must be the one Dr. John called me about.
I guess so. My name is...
Wait? Gabriel Knight?
You're too quick for me.
Actually, Dr. John told me. You have come to the right place, Mr. Knight. Tell me how I can help.
Do these symbols mean anything to you?
Oh, the voodoo code. It is very secret, yes. I studied it with my mentor, the great Queen Tabitha.
Really? Great. Can you tell me what it says?
Let's see. Well, some of it is nonsense, I'm afraid. Whoever wrote this wasn't very good.
That's all right. Just tell me what it says.
It starts with a D and a J, and then... Okay, this part makes sense. It says, conclave tonight, bring... then there's more nonsense. F-W-E-T-K-A-S-H. Well, that last bit might mean cash. Fresh cash? It doesn't make much sense.
That's okay, thanks. DJ, conclave, K-A-S-H. It's a start.
I'm happy I could help.
Could I ask you a few questions?
Of course, Seeker.
What can you tell me about voodoo?
My practice is mainly selling charms and potions with magic power, such as gree-gree and voodoo oils. You know, everything from unrequited love to wandering spouses to winning a lawsuit. But my spells and charms are powerful, and they work.
What can you tell?
Much of a voodoo yen's work is protecting her clients from the spell of others. I make special protective gree-gree to be worn in secret. They keep evil spells from working against my clients.
What can you tell me?
The recipes for voodoo charms have been handed down from master to apprentice for centuries.
What can you tell me?
I have told you all it is proper for you to know, Monsieur Knight.
What do you know about the voodoo murders?
Why, that has nothing to do with me and my clientele. But I can tell you that you should stay as far from it as possible. There is badness there. Very bad.
What can you tell me about New Orleans?
New Orleans is the center of voodoo practice in the United States.
Do you know anything about snakes?
Snakes? You mean like my beloved Grimwald? She's a python, you know. Quite deadly in the wrong hands. I was trained by one of the great voodoo queens to learn how to hypnotize and handle snakes.
What's the significance of St. John's Eve?
St. John's Eve? It is the greatest night of the voodoo year. There is always a traditional conclave on St. John's Eve. Most of our voodoo churches these days hold functions in the church hall. But in the old days, they had ceremonies out in the wild, and they wore animal masks and had a huge bonfire and dancing. I used to go when I was an apprentice, sometimes in the swamp, you know, Bayou St. John, sometimes at the lake, Lake Pontchartrain.
Do you have any idea what Gabriel St. means?
No. No, I don't.
Do you know anything about Marie Laveau?
Oh, yes. She was the first of the great voodoo queens.
Tell me about the animal masks.
I saw them used once or twice when I was younger, but you don't see them much anymore. They're too close.
Too close to what?
Just bad karma.
Tell me about the animal masks.
I don't know what else to say about that.
Have you ever heard the word Schottenjäger?
I don't know anything about that.
Give me an example of a gris-gris.
All right. Here's an old one. Take a lodestone and some brimstone to a crossroads at midnight. Light the brimstone with a match, and a spirit will come and give you advice in gambling.
About Grimwald.
What about her?
How'd you learn to handle Grimwald?
I told you a great voodoo queen taught me. She learned from Marie Laveau herself.
Oh, fascinating. How about showing me how you handle Grimwald?
Really? You would like to see me dance, perhaps?
That would be swell.
I won't make you wait, Monsieur Knight. No matter what you see, do not be frightened.
I'll give it my best shot.
Gabriel grabs the shed snake skin while Magenta is otherwise occupied.
They are truly inspiring, isn't it?
That's certainly one word for it.
Gabriel magnifies the scale from the lake. The iridescent scale is brilliantly hued with greens and purples. Gabriel magnifies the shed skin from magenta moonbeam's snake. The snake scales are hued brown. They don't match the scale from Lake Pontchartrain.
Well, I guess I'll be going now.
Open your mind and heart, and the way will be clear to you.
I'll give it my best shot. Hello, beautiful. It's me.
The excitement of seeing you is killing me.
Got a minute, Grace?
What's up?
Do you know anything about animal masks?
I'd really rather not hear about your sex life, Knight.
What can you tell me about St. John's Eve?
St. John's Eve? Never heard of it. It must be a local custom. New Orleans love any excuse to celebrate.
Do you have messages for me?
Nope. None right now.
Could you do some research for me?
Sure. What?
I need you to look up a Madame Cazeneuve.
Madame Cazeneuve? Is she related to the murders the same way your friend, Malia Gedde, was?
Grace, Cazeneuve's at least 70.
As if that makes a difference to you. Okay, I'll see what I can find. Anything else?
I can't think of anything.
Okay. It's time to close shop.
So it is. Have a nice night.
You too. See you tomorrow.